Okay, hopefully this is working. Hello. Some of you maybe been watching my channel, others have probably not ever saw me a day in your life. That is completely fine. I am Mr. Hasu. Um, I found this tier list online. I thought it'd be interesting to do it. Trying something a little different on my channel. Um, Trying to see what sticks. Maybe gets a couple more views. Um, Simple tier list. 5 grades. Awesome, good, painfully average, meh, and never played. There's going to be a lot of games on here that I have unfortunately never played, and there are going to be some that I absolutely cannot recommend highly enough. But we will get into it shortly. Little bit about me. I have played RPGs as long as I can remember. This is not a comprehensive list at all. As again, I've not played probably at least a third of these, I would say, around this list. There are some I have played way too long. Probably some of these are approaching 1,000 hours. So again, I've love RPGs. They're absolutely my favorite genre. I think they give you the most bang for your buck, maybe outside of some Dota-esque type games, MOBAs. But RPGs are definitely where my focus is. So we're going to go through one each at a time. There's no script here. I'm just giving you my surface thoughts. So if it seems a little bit off the rail, that is why. So let's get into it. And unfortunately, we're going to start off with a couple that I've just never played before. The Age of Decadence. That is never played for me. Baldur's Gate 2. Shadows. I think that's one of the expansions. Fortunately, I have never played that. Baldur's Gate. Actually, I don't see Baldur's Gate 3 in here, so let's pretend this is Baldur's Gate 3 right here. Again, I'm using the Baldur's Gate 2. Shadows of Alm is Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the top of this entire list. It's also probably one of the newest. It is an amazing game. I could not recommend that enough. The gameplay, the combat, the narrative choices, the overall polish of the game, the love for the game that Larian has showed it. Baldur's Gate 3 is chef's kiss. It is the perfect RPG in my opinion. It easily matches the hype of any RPG in the past 2 decades. It absolutely lives up to the Baldur's Gate's legacy. Baldur's Gate 3 is. I can't say enough good things about it. If you have not played it, if you have not picked it up, it's absolutely worth your time. 10 out of 10. Easiest one on this entire list. Top to bottom, there are only certain weaknesses to the game, slight imbalance issues. But other than that, it is absolutely worth your time. I think this is Baldur's Gate 1. I'm just going to lump Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 together. I have unfortunately never played them. I played Baldur's Gate 2 briefly. I do want to get into them. I'll admit, Baldur's Gate 3 got me into the series. I absolutely want to explore this universe more. The lore is fascinating. I love D&D. I love the world. Definitely something I'll be picking up in the future. But again, I didn't play it enough, not even near enough to grade it. We have Arcanum, one I've also heard great things about, but I've unfortunately never played. Will absolutely want to play it sometime in the future, but again, I'm not going to speak on ones I have no direct experience on. Dark Souls 1 and 2. Dark Souls 1 I will put as good. Right up front, I'm not the biggest fan of the Souls series, but I played Dark Souls 1 for, I'd probably say, about 80 hours. It is a good game. Bordering on awesome. The only thing that would stop me from recommending it from anyone is probably what most of you are familiar with, just the sheer difficulty that comes with a Souls game. Um, it is probably one of the least accessible Souls games in my opinion. Simply because the difficulty spikes are everywhere. It can shoot from easy to hard to ridiculously hard. It's heavily build dependent, but again, overall, it is fun. The combat is great. When it came out, I think it spawned off the Demon's Souls series. Dark Souls, again, good, guys, is what I recommend most of you to play. But I put on a small caveat. Again, it's difficult. Anyone who's ever played a Souls game knows you're going to die over and over and over again. Dark Souls 1 had a really good mix. The world was fun to explore. The combat was great. Of all the Souls games, I would say it's the least accessible, simply because, well, one, it's probably the first in the genre. People were still getting used to the system. But two, I would say out of the 3 Souls games, it probably is the most difficult one. Dark Souls 2, I'd also put as good. Again, for a lot of the same reasons as Dark Souls 1, simply the difficulty. From a pure RPG point of view, the combat is fun. The build variety, building out your character, playing out your character, all of these aspects are, again, A+. But again, I don't know about many of you, but dying over and over and over again to try and figure out how to kill the big bad boss, it's not exactly my idea of a good time. But again, I played Dark Souls 2, probably put about 50 hours in. I enjoyed the game. Okay, I did enjoy the game. Did I beat it? No. I would say I probably got about halfway through with it before I finally found something that just kicked my ass over and over and over again until I got frustrated and threw my controller in the wall. Not good for my health. Okay, Dark Sun. Absolutely never played that one. Now, some of you are going to start questioning my game chops. Diablo 1, never played. Diablo 2. This is Diablo 2. Diablo 2, I have played briefly. Not anywhere near enough to where I feel confident grading it. Diablo 1 and 2 are obviously staples, and they have spawned an entire genre of games. In fact, there's a lot on this list that draw inspiration from it. Torchlight, for instance, Path of Exile. Diablo has such a good pedigree. Combat, build variety, fun world to explore, this dark narrative. But again, I haven't played them anywhere near enough. I think this is another expansion. And here we have Diablo 3. This one I do feel confident in actually grading. I probably put about, I'd say 30 to 40 hours into Diablo 3, which I say was a pretty good metric. Where would I rate Diablo 3? I would put it at probably painfully average. Diablo 3 never really caught me, never latched its grips into me. This may be because the type of genre, the type of RPG, quote unquote, never really caught me. It doesn't have much RPG elements. It's more about exploration, combat, and character builds, which is certainly a big thing of RPGs, but it's that lack of narrative choice or the complex story building that I think stops it from becoming that next tier level. But I had a good bit of fun. I think I played a Witch Doctor. It was fun. The combat was fun. I never got into the builds. I never got into anything else. The story was interesting, but again, the lack of narrative, lack of character impact, lack of choices is really what stopped me from putting in 100 hours into this game. So, again, would I recommend it to everyone? No. Would I recommend it if you're a fan of this type of game? If you love Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Torchlight, Path of Exile? Yes, absolutely. You will get your money's worth and your time and enjoyment out of Diablo. Collecting loot, again, character builds, those aren't the first things I think of when I'm looking for an RPG. Disco Elysium. I probably put about 20 hours into this one. I would probably say it is a very good RPG. It's not so much about the combat here. It's more about the narrative choices and consequences, which is what I tend to like in an RPG. The storytelling is amazing. The graphics are obviously not one of its highest strengths, but I don't really care about graphics. What I care about is gameplay, narrative choice, and consequences. And I think it does at least two of those in very, very strong ways. The story is captivating, the character building is great. You can build your character to do multiple different things, and you see real consequences. You can see your character reacting to your consequences, which I think is a very good sign of a great RPG. Would I recommend it to everyone? No. This is what you want if you want something to captivate you narratively. If you're looking for a combat game, do not go with Disco Elysium. This is a purely narrative and consequences type game. If that sort of thing interests you, I would absolutely recommend Disco Elysium. But from my point of view, Disco Elysium, a very solid, good game. Divinity 2, I have never played it. I have heard of it. I have done a little bit of research on it, simply because I'm a big fan of Larian Studios. Divinity 2, however, never put much time into. No time into, sorry. Again, do I want to play it in the future? Yeah, I actually would. This is something I'm interested in. Something I'll probably try and play in the future. Now we're going to start to get into some real heavy hitters. Divinity 1. I played this game for probably about 50 or 60 hours, I would say. Divinity 1 is a good game. The character build, the narrative choices, the reactivity, the story, the element combat, putting water down, electrifying it, the fun abilities to use. That's the kind of thing that gets me interested in the game. The combat is super fun. The character building is amazing. You can build whatever kind of character not exactly whatever type of character you want. You're kind of limited by the kind of stats you want. In fact, I'd say building a hybrid character, Divinity, Original Sin, the first one is actually a little challenging. In fact, I'd say that's true for both games. But I'd probably say it's a little bit more true for the first one. If you spread yourself too thin in this game, you can actually have a pretty hard time. Generally, it's better to hyper-specialize in one area with maybe one or two dips and minor things. I like to play a ranger who summoned a spider and used elemental arrows and earth magic. It was pretty fun. Narratively, very strong game. I liked it a lot. Divinity 1, really, really good game. If you've never played it, pick it up. Divinity 2, this is either going to be awesome or good. Do I think it's better than Divinity 1? Yes, I do. Divinity 2, I'd say it's the benchmark for most modern RPGs. Divinity 2, refined what Divinity did, refined what Divinity 1 did, and pretty much improved on every single metric. Gameplay, the balance, the builds were fun. You could sort of play hybrids in a certain way. You could play a summoner. You could play a physical DPS that was augmented by magic. I wasn't a huge fan of the armor system in Divinity 2. The way you did magical and physical armor, but once you figured out your build, it's actually pretty fun to focus on. Generally, it was better to focus on either physical or magic, not dipping into both, but creating a hybrid party is not necessarily a bad thing. The reactivity in Divinity 2 I thought was really fun. It was full of people hating the elf character I played, which I'm actually a big fan of, that kind of reactivity. In fact, you'll probably see a common theme here. I love reactivity to whatever kind of character you're building. It makes the world feel alive. It makes the NPCs you're talking to, they have certain biases against you because of what you are, how you choose to play, what kind of race you are, what kind of class you are. Divinity 2 is, again, amazing. On that note, I'm probably going to put an awesome. Divinity 2 is simply a fantastic game. I'd say the strongest point of Divinity 2 would probably be the story. Divinity 2 has an amazing story from start to bottom. I'd say the first act is probably its strongest, but the second act onwards is also, again, phenomenal. When it came out, the game had amazing graphics. It's aged quite well, even though it's not that old yet. If anyone picks it up today, if you're a fan of RPGs, CRPGs in particular, you'd probably love it. Can't say enough good things about Divinity 2. Now we're getting into the Dragon Age series. Dragon Age Origins. The best of all four, in my opinion. Dragon Age Origins is what a lot of people use as a benchmark for modern CRPGs. It is... The story, top to bottom, is fantastic. You're a Grey Warden, basically trying to build an army to conquer the Darkspawn. The choices feel impactful. You feel like you have a real impact on the world, depending on what kind of area you're in and what kind of choices you make. The builds are fun. The reactivity is awesome. The world feels very fantastical and dark. It's a super dark game. There's grit, there's gore, there's violence, it's a dark world. Dragon Age Origins does a fantastic job in setting up the universe. I wish a couple of these other games did a little bit better job of doing that, but we'll get into that soon. Origins, again, a fantastic game. I would say it's probably at the same tier, Baldur's Gate 3. These are probably the two best in the entire list, in my opinion. I've probably put upwards of about 700 hours in Dragon Age Origins, easy. I have done so many playthroughs. I hope Remaster's on the horizon, because I'm going to play the absolute shit out of it if it comes out. I love the tactical gameplay. This is one of the first games that really got me into the combat. Just the elemental combinations you can do, the freezing, the spell combinations that mages can pull off. The spell combos, I think, were called. It's fantastic. It's engaging. I always try to play an elf, and I love the racism in the world. I know that sounds really bad, but I love playing the underdog, especially if everyone thinks you're a complete waste of human space. Dragon Age Origins, absolutely in the same tier as Baldur's Gate 3. Dragon Age 2, oh boy, I'm going to put that as painfully average. There is one thing Dragon Age 2 did well. That is the combat. I did like the combat. Was the combat better than Dragon Age Origins? No. It was more actiony, it was more fast paced, it was more adrenaline infused. That's the only good thing about Dragon Age 2, in my opinion. The building the game around a singular city, I thought was a big mistake. Dragon Age 2, narratively, is not terrible, but again, the focus on that one city, going through the same city for 80 hours over and over again, visiting the same areas, clearing the same areas. You're basically playing the same game in 3 acts the exact same way. Okay, I gotta clear this off, I gotta check this box, this box, this box, I gotta clear this area with maybe slightly different enemies. It feels very uninspired. Now, I know BioWare had a very short amount of time to develop Dragon Age 2, and it does show. The zones feel the same. They are the same. The city doesn't feel very inspired. It's very dark. I actually don't mind that, but it's not super visceral. It's not got the same nitty gritty dark as Dragon Age Origins. It just feels dull. I would not recommend Dragon Age 2. Is this the worst of the series? No, I'd probably say there's one more that's maybe slightly below this. But Dragon Age 2, if you want to play the entire Dragon Age series, again, it's not a terrible game. It's average. I played it once, I think, maybe 1.5 times. Would I play it again? Not really. Unless I was planning some sort of mega playthrough for the entire Dragon Age series. It's just, again, the only thing I liked about Dragon Age 2 was the combat. I loved playing a warrior. It felt fast-paced, quick. The combat was fun. The action-oriented, again, was super fun. Would I play it again? No. Absolutely not. Inquisition. This I'm going to put in good. Dragon Age Inquisition. Why am I putting that above Dragon Age 2? Well, simply because it tried to do the Skyrim in Dragon Age. Is it a good game? Absolutely. I thought the combat was more or less on the same tier Dragon Age 2. It's good combat. I enjoyed it. It's fast-paced. It's fun. You can build your character in multiple ways. There's not a ton of reactivity based on your class and race, but there's enough, in my opinion. Is the story fantastic? It depends. The villain is, as most of you probably know, not the greatest. But what I love about Dragon Age 2 is I think it does enough. I like building up your forces. I like building up the Inquisition. That added, it felt like I was working towards something. Even though the payoff at the end of the game may not have been exactly what I was looking for, it felt like I was building something the entire time. And I thought the narrative push towards this building of forces, again, it was mostly about the journey with Inquisition for me. And I'll be honest, it is mostly about the journey. Is the ending important in a lot of these games? Sometimes. But again, did I have fun getting there? That's what I care about. In Inquisition, I absolutely did. Graphically, I thought this was good when it came out. Has it aged well? I think it's aged fairly well. Inquisition, I would recommend. It's a fun game. I would absolutely feel comfortable putting in a good category. Veilguard. I am torn between painfully average and meh. I did about 2/3 of a playthrough on Veilguard, and I got bored. The combat has gone... They've pretty much... Dragon Age is a tactical RPG. Dragon Age 2 was an action tactical. Inquisition still had some tactical, but mostly action. Veilguards just threw it away. There is no real tactical. It's 100% action. And while I'm not exactly opposed to that, you gotta have a couple more things to kind of hook me. The combat itself, I would say, is painfully average. It's not super fun. It's not super intuitive. Inquisition, I love playing a warrior. I love playing. The combat felt fast paced. It felt reactive. I liked using the parry a lot. I like the build options. Veilguard, it doesn't feel like my choices in combat are super meaningful. There's too much going on the screen. It feels cluttered. It feels there's too much. That's what Veilguard is. It's just too much. Narratively, the story is all over the place. It feels disconjointed. I am not a fan of the narrative. I love Varric. He was probably the best part of this entire game. I didn't feel connected to my character in any way. There is not much reactivity. There's a couple of companions I did like. Scout Harding. I'm a big fan of her from Inquisition. Probably, she was my companion on almost every single mission. But I tried picking up Veilguard again, probably about a month and a half ago, maybe about a month, and I lasted about 10 hours. Again, it didn't have that hook. The combat is just, again, average narratively. It's just, I'd say I put less hours in. Oh, they're probably about equal. I'm really tempted to put Veilguard in but I don't think it quite reaches that. It's definitely below Dragon Age 2. In fact, I'd probably put this at the bottom of this painfully average list if I could. This really disappointed me. I don't know if the Dragon Age series is dead now, but I don't have much confidence at all. Oh, alright, what is this one? Drakesang. I have never played that. Elden Ring. I have not put as many hours into this as a lot of other people have. I am going to put this probably here. I put about, I'd say, 30 hours in Elden Ring. And I think this speaks, again, more of the Souls genre. This high difficulty. I think it's more accessible in Dark Souls 1 and 2. I will say that. It starts out a little more even. I did enjoy Elden Ring. I absolutely did enjoy Elden Ring. Would I recommend it to other people? Yes, I would. This is a fun game. The combat is fun. The world is beautiful. The graphics are stunning. There is so much build and character variety. This game does a lot of things well. I was a fan of the melee combat. It feels tight. It feels polished. All the Souls games combat. That's a highlight of the Souls games, the combat. People play these games for the combat and the builds. Now, that's pretty much what it has going for it. The combat and the build variety. The world feels beautiful. Narratively, well, again, it's a Souls-esque game. These type of games don't have a strong narrative arc. They're not supposed to, right? They're just not supposed to. You're supposed to explore the world. You're supposed to make your own story, basically. Now, there is a narrative here. Obviously, there's a narrative in every single one of these games. But, again, it is absolutely not the main focus. The main focus is on this hard, strategic, rough action combat, this fast-paced, high adrenaline. If you're into that, you will absolutely love Elden Ring, which I'm assuming most of you have probably played it. Would I go back and play it again? If I was in a certain kind of mood, yes, I could absolutely see playing it again. Could it ever be in my awesome list? Probably. I'll probably go back and play it at some point. I am just notoriously bad at these Soulless games, and it has again induced many control throwing sessions, and I don't like damaging my walls, so that's why it's not higher. But yes, very good game. If you love these type of games, you would absolutely love Elden Ring. I did love the open world it was going for. I thought that was absolute. In fact, you know, just for that, it probably goes ahead of Dark Souls 1 and 2. The open world concept, Elden Ring, really fun. I loved the mount. I loved exploring the different nooks and crannies. That was a really fun part of Elden Ring. Would absolutely recommend it. This is Expeditions Conquistador. Unfortunately, another game I have never played. Same for Expedition Vikings, another game I have never played. Fallout 2. I don't know if I feel comfortable grading this one. I think I put in about 10 hours. No, I don't feel comfortable grading it. I just haven't played it enough. Fallout 2, obviously, it's a phenomenal game. By reputation alone, it is fantastic. Unfortunately, again, I just don't feel comfortable. From what I did play, I like the turn-based combat, combat. I like the RPG choices. The biggest thing about Fallout 2 was the narrative elements. Most people liked the world reactivity. But again, if I ever have more time, I will absolutely recreate this list. Fallout New Vegas. Where would I rank New Vegas? Probably put that in good. New Vegas, I would say is... I was a big fan of Fallout 3, which I'll get to in a second. New Vegas, the gunplay, is what really sold me on New Vegas. The gunplay in New Vegas feels very tight, very solid. It has all of the Fallout kind of tropes. The combat is fun. I love the guns. They feel good. The build variety is there. The story is fun. The factions, the questing, top to bottom, it's a very tight game. New Vegas, again, I can't say enough good things about it. If you had to play any game in the Fallout series, in fact, it'd probably be New Vegas. The world is just fun to explore. The quests are varied. The world feels packed with content. You can easily sink 100 hours into this and be engaged the entire time. You want to be a sniper, you want to be a machine gunner, you want to be a sneaky SOB, melee builds. You can basically build any kind of character you want as long as you want gunplay or some kind of melee character. The reactivity to your character is also very strong. Your stats matter. There are narrative choices that react to you. I love Fallout's reactivity, depending on if you're playing a good guy, a bad guy. New Vegas definitely does the best reactivity, I would say, of all the Fallout games. Very, very excellent game. Where to put it in here? I'd probably put it ahead of all of these, actually. New Vegas, absolutely a very good game. Yeah. Fallout 3. I would say Fallout 3 is towards... How many hours? I did quite a few playthroughs of this, actually, so I'd probably put it towards the upper end of good. Fallout 3, the biggest thing for me is the combat feels stiff. That is simply because of the gunplay. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but New Vegas kind of uses Call of Duty. You know, when you hold down the right trigger, you aim down the gun sight. Now, most games kind of run off that kind of system now. It's just the way gunplay has evolved. Fallout 3 was kind of before this shift to that kind of gunplay. That's why aiming manually is awkward. Now, the VAT system obviously helps a big deal, but shooting things in Fallout 3 kind of feels a little weird. Now, it's not to say it's not absolutely doable, because you can do it quite well, actually. The combat in Fallout 3 is fun. It's just clunky sometimes. That's the biggest thing. There is not as much reactivity as Fallout New Vegas. For instance, if you play a stupid character, I don't think there's any actual reactivity. Whereas, again, New Vegas, not only do you get people reacting to your skills, but you also get people reacting to your attributes. Fallout 3 will react to a good or evil character. And there are a lot of choices in the world that make changes. The Megaton, obviously, right in the beginning, you know, do you explode the nuke? Do you not explode the nuke? That one comes to mind very fast. And that can have a very real impact on the world. Overall, a very good game. If you have not played it, I would highly recommend it. The Fallout series is very strong. Again, Fallout 3 is slightly worse than New Vegas, simply because I'm a big fan of combat. But again, the reactivity as well. That's why I think New Vegas just does a fantastic job overall. Fallout 4, I'm going to put as painfully average. This one may be a little controversial, or maybe not. But Fallout 4, the combat does feel decent. I just never felt engaged in the world. I don't know what it is about Fallout 4. Maybe I'm just tired of the Fallout series. Maybe I was tired, I don't know. But it just feels run of the mill. The combat is fun. I think there's too much. That would, I'd say, the problem is Fallout 4. There's a little too much going on. The base building feels, I never caught on to me. I've never been a big fan of base building or that kind of element in RPGs. Unless you've got a static environment where you can, or a single dynamic environment where you can kind of build up. Here you're building supply chains, you're crafting every single piece of armor and weapon, which again, I'm not opposed to. I like those kind of crafting systems. But Fallout 4 just went a little overboard in that direction. The factions never felt super inspired to me. I never felt super engaged with them. I thought the Brotherhood of Steel were assholes. The Minutemen were annoying. And I didn't sympathize with any of the factions in there at all. It didn't grip me. The story never gripped me. I thought it relied on a few obvious cliches. Fallout 4, it's passable. I would definitely say of the new Fallouts, it is definitely the weakest. If you are going to play a Fallout game, pick up New Vegas. You won't regret it. Here we have Gothic 2, Gothic 3, and Gothic 1, I think. Yes. So, I never played any Gothic series. Something I do regret. I know there's a remake for Gothic coming out. I think it's Gothic 2. Maybe it's Gothic 1. I do intend to play it. I have watched gameplay videos and it looks interesting. I don't think it's aged very well, but then again, I think Gothic 1's like 20 plus years old at this point, so that's not overly surprising. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about them, unfortunately. Okay, Grandia 2. Again, nothing I have played. Same for Grimlock 2. I've heard quite a few good things about Grimlock 2. I eventually want to play it. Icewind Dale. Oh boy, here's where my RPG chops are just going to show terribly. I've never played Icewind Dale or Icewind 2. I've heard a lot of good things about both these titles. Definitely something I want to do on my list. I think this is Jade Empire. I probably put about 20 hours into this one. I'd finished the tutorial island and I got a decent bit into the second area. I'm not sure. Probably about 20 to 30 hours. I think it is a good game. The combat was fun and enjoyable. I think I played it about 6 years ago, so significantly longer after its release. It did feel a little clunky to me, but that may be just be a consequence of me being spoiled by more modern titles. I've heard a lot of people love this game. I know there's a cult following for this game. The story didn't quite grip me. I thought it didn't do a fantastic job of introducing you to the world right off the bat. But I thought the combat was pretty fun. I thought there was a lot of potential here. This is something I want to revisit probably in the future. But yeah, I just don't have enough experience. You know what? I'm gonna put it down to never played. I don't think I gave it a fair shot. Definitely need to spend more time in it before I actually give it a fair grade. Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning. This is something I am going to put in painfully average. Kingdom Come Amalur Reckoning. Oh, that's a mouthful. Am I saying that right? Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning. Okay. So, this, if I would say one thing about Kingdom, you are going to get your money's worth. This game is jam-packed full of content. It is trying to be World of Warcraft in RPG fashion. Kingdom Amalur is a massive game. The combat, I would say, is decent. The build variety is decent. The questing, however, is completely uninspired. The world feels barely alive. There is almost no reactivity. In fact, I would say the combat is decent. But nothing other than the combat would get anything above a B from me. Questing is painfully average. Narratively, I would say it's below average, actually. It doesn't catch you. It doesn't feel strong. I wasn't a big fan of the ending. I know they recently came out the remastered version, quote unquote. I didn't even think it was much of a remaster. If you want to burn 100 hours in a game, would probably be the one you do it in. None of the characters are particularly gripping. I thought the character customization was very poor. The crafting is decent. I did like the crafting in this game. I think I probably put about 50 or 60 hours into this game. It's just, it's exactly this. It's just painfully average in everything. There's not one thing that jumps out to me in this game at all. It's just, it's okay. That's all I can say about it. It's okay. If it's on sale, is it worth the pickup? Again, if you're a fan of these massive worlds, this cares more about content than anything else. Again, you absolutely going to get your money's worth out of this game, but it's going to be mediocre the entire time. Maybe you like the combat. I would say the combat's probably the strongest part, because it can be fun. That's the only thing I would say about it. Okay. I don't even know what this one is. King's Bounty. I had another one, and I have never played. King's Bounty again, never played. In fact, let's just get rid of all the ones I've never played, shall we? Let's just save ourselves some time. Lineage 2, never played. What is this one? Magic X Galaxy. Oops. Let's put that one up here. Alright, we'll continue from there. Alright, so KOTOR 1, Knights of the Old Republic. This one's going to awesome. KOTOR 1 is a fantastic RPG. It is a narratively probably the best Star Wars game you'll ever play. The twist that happens about halfway through the game is fun. No, it's not halfway through the game. It's probably about 2/3 of the way through the game. Can you kind of see it coming from a mile away? Yes, you absolutely can. But it doesn't matter. The combat is great. The story is fantastic. The characters are fun. I love the reactivity, the choices, the making these small light side and dark side choices. Slowly either corrupting your character, becoming this champion of the light. The builds felt good. The force powers felt satisfying to use. I can't say enough good things about KOTOR 1. I really wish the remaster was here. I actually don't know if it's even been abandoned. I really hope it comes out, because I would play the shit out of KOTOR 1 remaster over and over again. If you play any RPG on this list, I would absolutely put this in the top 3. I can't say enough good things about KOTOR 1. Fantastic game. Knights of the Old Republic 2. Ooh, so without patches and upon first release, this game was terrible. It was buggy. It was incomplete. Was it fun? Yes. The combat was fun. I felt like it improved on several things that KOTOR 1 did. But at release, this was a giant pile of shit. Now, after a few patches and the community actually fixing their game, KOTOR 2 is a good game. As long as you have the community patch, it is a good game. Thankfully, the community did such a fantastic job on Knights of the Old Republic 2 to bring up to this level. The bones of a good game were always there. It's just the state the game was released in was absolutely garbage. Thankfully, now you can get this on Steam in a very functional state. Quite frankly, the developers should thank the public for their efforts and doing a bad job themselves. But KOTOR 2 right now, it is still incomplete, unfortunately. But, and you can tell towards the end of the game, but I care more about the journey. I have replayed KOTOR 2 several times, and I have had fun every single time. The force powers feel great to use. The story, while not as strong as KOTOR 1, is definitely very good. Absolutely worth your time, worth your money. Absolutely. It is a good Star Wars game. I would recommend it to anyone who liked KOTOR 1. Absolutely. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, like KOTOR 1 would be, but it is very close. I love the reactivity. I love the class options, the class building. The story in the first half, I would say, is very strong. It's a literal last 2 hours of the game that kind of let the rest of it down. But again, the journey is A+. The Mass Effect series. Okay, where would I put Mass Effect 1? The thing that kind of built the whole shebang. I would probably put Mass Effect 1 as good. Mass Effect 1, probably the weakest aspect of Mass Effect 1 probably would have been the combat. At least maybe in most people's opinion. I love the combat in Mass Effect 1. I loved the gunplay, even though it felt a little clunky at times. It felt a little slow. I loved the power usage. I always played a biotic, and I loved using biotic powers in Mass Effect. It was super fun. The story of taking a war hero or a soldier of the Alliance through this journey of this basically becoming a galactic special forces agent, I thought was really cool. I loved the Reapers, the idea of the Reapers. I thought Saren was a fantastic villain. The reactivity, the Paragon and Renegade system, I thought was also very solid. I loved the build options. Just a top to bottom, a very good RPG. Would absolutely recommend, if you haven't picked it up, the new Mass Effect collection, the remastered version. A+. I think they did a really good job with the remastered version, where you can get all 3 Mass Effect games. If you haven't played it, highly, highly recommend Mass Effect. Very good game. Mass Effect 2. I would probably also put this in good. I would say it's better than Mass Effect 1, actually. Mass Effect 2 is a great game. It doesn't quite reach the same tier as the ones above it, in my opinion. But again, still a great game. It basically took everything the first game did, the narrative choices, the Paragon and Renegade system, the fun story, the universe building. You got to see some of the consequences from the first game. This is what this series does well. The consequence. So does the Dragon Age series, actually. I didn't mention that. The continued story and reactivity through each of the games, but Mass Effect does it, in my opinion, better. You can see characters reacting to past choices. I thought that was really awesome. I played the shit out of this game on console. I also played on PC. In fact, you know what? This is getting polished up to awesome. I played this game too much for me not to put it in this category. I think I've probably done 4 or 5 playthroughs of Mass Effect 2 at least. I loved, again, playing that Vanguard style. I also did a couple of Infiltrator ones. The suicide mission at the end of the game I thought was fantastic. You can actually see the choices you made make a real difference. The game reacts to your choices very well. Building up your crew's loyalty. Just a fantastic game. I would never say to anyone to play one Mass Effect game, because I think you need to play all 3, quite frankly. But if you had to play one, Mass Effect 2 would probably be the one I would recommend. Mass Effect 3. So I was originally going to put this above Mass Effect 2, but I'm going to put this on the awesome category too. I think it's on the same tier as Mass Effect 2, maybe slightly below it. The biggest letdown a lot of people had with Mass Effect 3 was probably the ending. But again, I care a little bit more about what happened when I played the game. I thought the combat is very similar to Mass Effect 2. It's a little bit more high octane. The gunplay felt very similar. I loved seeing the culmination of your choices from all 3 games. I loved the builds. I loved seeing every single character from the entire series. I love seeing how the consequences of my choices. Mass Effect 3, just fantastic game. Mass Effect 2, definitely the best in the series. Then 3, then Mass Effect. But again, if you're going to play any one of these, just play all three. Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. They are absolutely worth your time and money. These are fantastic games. The gunplay is fantastic. The characters are fun. The universe is fun. It feels like a great universe to play in. The world building between Mass Effect 1 and 2 is fantastic, and the payoff of Mass Effect 3, even though I thought it was a little bit of a letdown, I still loved it. And even when they redid the endings, I thought it was done well enough to where all three of these are, again, chef's kiss. Neverwinter Nights. I never played Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights 2, I would put as good. I did play this game. Where would I actually put it? Probably here. Neverwinter Nights 2 was a good game. I love D&D. I love old school D&D. I love new D&D. I love the D&D rule set. For when this game came out, the reactivity of this game was fantastic. It reacted to your classes, it reacted to your race, the build variety. You can build whatever type of character you want. D&D 3.5, the rule set is a little clunky. Not as clunky as 2.0 or 1.0. 5.0 is relatively straightforward, but that's probably the biggest hurdle most people would have, is actually understanding what's going on. This is not an easy game to learn. Once you do understand what's going on, it is a very challenging game. It is a very strategic game, and it is a very reactive game. The story does kind of catch you. I thought the story was good. It's got a lot of really good elements. Combined, you mix all these together, you just have a very strong game overall. I would absolutely recommend, if you liked Baldur's Gate 3, would you like Neverwinter Nights 2? Yes, you probably would. However, again, a caveat is a much tougher game than Baldur's Gate 3. It is definitely in the same kind of genre, that kind of CRPG kind of esque, the overhead kind of RPG. But again, it's tough. It doesn't do a very good job of explaining its systems. It kind of expects you to have a lot of innate knowledge. If you don't build your character right, you're going to be punished a lot. Neverwinter Nights 2 is definitely a tough game. I played a swashbuckler. I think it was a mix between a wizard and a rogue. I had fun. I thought I had a lot of fun. I like the keep building in I think it was probably the second quarter of the game. I did like that aspect, just a really solid. I never finished Neverwinter Nights 2. I think I got about 3/4 of the way through. The difficulty really ramps up. You need to know what you're doing in Neverwinter Nights 2. If you don't, you're just going to be severely punished. But absolutely awesome game. Absolutely recommend it. Never played Mask of the Betrayer. I have never played Mask of the Exile. Pathfinder Kingmaker. Where would I put this one? That is a very good question. I know where I'm going to put Wrath of the Righteous. Where am I going to put Kingmaker? So, Kingmaker does a couple of things right. I like the world. It felt fun. I did not like the rushed nature in the beginning. It felt that I was being... I don't like when RPGs basically force my hand. I don't like going off against a timer. I don't like being constantly pressured in RPGs. I want to take my time. I want to explore. I want to have fun. Kingmaker, you kind of felt like you're always on a timer, and I did not like that. Even if the timer is somewhat arbitrary, and it kind of is, at least in the first part of the game. It just felt rushed. The world didn't feel very strong to me. The combat is decent. The build variety, well, this is a game builds based stuff of Pathfinder, very similar to D&D. It's pretty tight. It's a very tight combat system. I think it does a reasonable job of introducing you to the Pathfinder system. It's not overly complicated, but it just didn't hook me. I never finished the game. I don't think I ever really will. It is definitely the much worse of the two games, and I don't think anyone would find that shocking. I'm going to put this under actually. I was not a fan of Kingmaker. I think I tried playing it a couple times. It never sunk with me. Kingmaker overall is just a mediocre game in my opinion. I don't think it does anything well. I like the Pathfinder system. Don't get me wrong. I like the classes. I don't think it's balanced very well. I don't like the pressure. I just thought it's a bad introduction to the Pathfinder system. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, I would probably put here. In good, high good. Wrath of the Righteous basically took everything Kingmaker did except turned up to 11. It took build variety and turned up to 11. It took combat, graphics. Well, the graphics are largely the same. Actually, that's not fair. The combat feels more visceral. It's very similar, but the thing that it feels more epic. Wrath of the Righteous, you basically play a character and you become a god, basically. I liked the introduction of mythic powers in Wrath of the Righteous. There's a lot of narrative. The narrative reactivity isn't so much about your race and class. In fact, I would say it's very limited in that regard. It's more about the choices you make on your journey. That's what makes the game. And the world does absolutely react to your choices in the game. That's what I loved. You can become anything from a lich who betrays everyone and everything they know, or something even worse, to basically becoming a champion of light. And people absolutely treat you differently depending on if you're evil master of the dead or a kick-ass merciful angel. Wrath of the Righteous just is everything Kingmaker does, except much better. I love the narrative. I love the effects. I love the combat. The foundation was there in Kingmaker. If there's one thing Kingmaker did decently well, it was the combat. Wrath of the Righteous just built on it, and it built on everything. The story, the kingdom management that it has. Well, it's not terribly deep. I felt was decent enough. If Wrath of the Righteous does have one weakness, it probably is the kingdom management and the strategic layer. Managing armies, managing your resources, doesn't feel fantastic. Overall, it just feels like a just better game in every single regard. Alright, now Pillars of Eternity. Pillars of Eternity, which one is this? Definitive Edition. Pillars of Eternity 1, I would say, is I would say it falls into the upper good category. Pillars 1 is a very solid RPG. No, in fact, I'd probably put it in the lower half of good. Probably about here. Pillars 1 was a very good starting point. I thought Pillars 1 did a very good job at building the world. The story is fun. If you blink your eyes, you can miss it. I love being a watcher, all this freaky stuff going on. At the start of the game, you have no idea what's going on. There's a ton of weird stuff going on. You kind of get thrown into the world with basically say, here, good luck, go explore the world, and have no idea what's going on. You have very little explained to you. You kind of have to find out, investigate on your own. I really like that aspect. You had to dig into the world yourself to find out more about it, be inquisitive, learn about it. It kind of rewards you for doing that as well. I love the combat in Pillars of Eternity. The animations are fun, the spells are fun. Everything feels super solid and tight. Pillars 1 is a fantastic game. This is my bread and butter. I love CRPGs. In fact, I'm probably going to move this up here. I am a huge fan of CRPGs. Pillars 1 is absolutely one of the better CRPGs of the past couple decades. If you played Baldur's Gate 3, this would probably be the CRPG I would recommend next. Pillars 1 or Pillars 2. They are super solid games. The developers put a lot of love and care into this game and this world, and you can tell. It oozes quality. CRPGs are super fun to play. I can't say enough good things about Pillars 1. I love playing a Cypher, being basically a psionic. I like the kind of high fantasy of the world, where it's got this mix between gunpowder, magic, a lot of freaky things going on with the gods and the Ingwethan ruins. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. There's not a ton of reactivity from your race. It's more so from your class and your attributes, which I'm a big fan of. The lore is very catching. I love the lore of the Pillars world. If you're a fan of Baldur's Gate 3, absolutely pick up Pillars. In fact, I'd probably put it above Mass Effect. In fact, I'd probably put it above Divinity 2 as well. Can't say enough good things about Pillars 1. I believe this is the White March. I have actually never played the expansion, so I don't feel qualified. I'm sure it's probably a really good expansion. I played Pillars 1 once, and I thought it was fantastic. Would I play it again? Absolutely. However, there's another entry in the Pillars, the quote-unquote Pillars world. That is Deadfire. Deadfire is, I think, a very underrated game. I think it deserves so much more attention than it got. Pillars 2 built on everything Pillars 1 did and made it better. Now, if Pillars 2 does have one weakness, it is probably the naval combat. You basically are traveling the world on a really large map. I mean, it's crazy how much content Pillars of Eternity 2 has. But definitely the weakest thing is probably naval combat. But the combat feels more or less the same. You definitely have more options in Pillars 2. You can basically build any kind of character you want. Absolutely anyone. The build variety, the world building was already set up in Pillars 1. Pillars 2 basically kind of builds a little bit off of it and kind of reaps the rewards. You've got an established world, you've got established factions, each with their own wants and interests, and you can take your character and you can affect the entire Deadfire archipelago in multiple ways. There's real consequences to your actions. You can engage in whatever kind. If you want to engage in naval combat, you absolutely can. If there's a lot of those faction systems, character dynamics, it's super fun. I am a big fan. I love Deadfire. I would not. This is probably my second favorite CRPG of all time. This game oozes quality and passion everywhere. Your companions are fun. I was a big fan of Adair, Jody, Seraphin's probably my favorite, even though he's a little one-dimensional. Cannot say enough good things about Pillars 2. Another one I've never played, unfortunately, Planescape Torment. Do absolutely want to play in the future. What is this one? Risen. Another one I never played. Fallen Angel, Sacred 2, never played that one. In fact, I've never heard of it. Never heard of this one either. Okay, I'm going to lump all three of these together. Shadowrun. I have played all three of these. I think I probably played... Which one did I play more? Definitely didn't play Shadowrun Return. I think I played Hong Kong the most. Or Dragonfall. Probably Hong Kong. All of these three are very similar. I'm going to put these all under probably good. The Dragonfall, the Shadowrun games are all very solid. It's a turn-based system. If you ever played XCOM, it's very similar to that. It uses a very rudimentary cover system. The build variety is fun. You can build anything from a hacker wielding a pistol to a heavy machine gunner. You can even build something like a psionic monk doing street monk magic. It's really, the Shadowrun universe is very dystopian future, cyberpunk-esque. It's a very interesting universe. I'm a big fan of it. Would I recommend these games to most people? Maybe not. They're very niche. Turn-based combat, I am a big fan of. I love turn-based combat, actually. These are very dark games. These are very grotesque games. These worlds don't have a lot of hope in them. You're kind of taking this character and trying to make the best of a very poor situation. All three of these games are very dark narratives. I love this kind of world, this very dark dystopian future. Again, in the future where all the corporations have taken over, this very dark narrative. I love the build variety. Mostly, I think I did the hacker and the one where you kind of mess around, have a robot pet. I always had fun with those kind of builds. Very good games. If you had to play one, I would probably start with Dragonfall. I think Hong Kong is the last one. In fact, I think it goes Shadowrun Returns, Dragonfall, and Hong Kong. Hong Kong, I think, is a little shorter than Dragonfall. Dragonfall is, I think, the second one. It's definitely a fun game. Definitely a little more modern than Shadowrun Returns. But all three are very solid outings. Probably played Hong Kong the most, but Dragonfall is a very solid one. The world is definitely, again, that very dark dystopian future. I love Dragonfall, but these kind of narratives I don't think would be for everyone. Again, a very dark universe, there's not much hope. So, very good games, not for everyone, no. Stick of Truth. Where would I put this one? I am a huge fan of South Park. Huge. I'd probably put this in the good category, but I don't know where. Probably near the bottom, actually. Stick of Truth is a fun game. It's funny. If you were a South Park fan, you were going to laugh your ass off the entire time. The amount of inside jokes, if you have watched the series, for both old and new South Park watchers, it's packed full of jokes. The combat is fairly simple, turn-based. It's not, the build variety isn't very deep. In fact, I think I have a hard time really calling it an RPG. Although it is to be fair, an RPG. But it's very simple narratively. If you're not a fan of South Park, I would probably put this in painfully average or maybe even meh. But if you're even briefly caught the show and found it entertaining, you will probably enjoy this game. I finished this game once. I think I started up a second playthrough at some point, but I dropped it. You will probably get a good playthrough in the Stick of Truth. Not for everyone at all. Definitely for mature audiences. Not really, I guess. Immature audiences, I guess, to some degree. But Stick of Truth, decent RPG. Again, if you're not a fan of South Park, I would not recommend this to you at all. But if you are, it's a fun game. I'll be honest, it's just stupid fun. This is a stupid fun game. Should this work? If this wasn't based off South Park, I would put this in the trash. Because I'll get, what is this? But since I'm a huge fan, I'm probably biased here. Stick of Truth is a fan letter to the fans, and I love it. Very fun game. What is this? This is another Neverwinter Nights 2. Alright, I didn't play that expansion. Ooh, okay. Morrowind. Okay, where am I gonna put Morrowind? I have an innate bias here. This is one of the earliest open world RPGs I've ever played. I think I played this when I was about 13 or 14, and I loved it. However, if I take the rose tinted goggles off, Morrowind has a lot of flaws. However, I still think it's a fantastic game. I would probably put it here. Morrowind is a fantastic game. It's very clunky. It's very rough around the edges for a modern audience. If you are a Gen Zer, I would probably give this game a hard pass. This is not going to keep your attention. However, if you're a little older like me, and you're willing to forgive certain aspects to games, Morrowind is an A+. The world feels massive. It's definitely slower than a Skyrim or an Oblivion would be. The biggest things for me are the world feels amazing. It's this dark land, danger around every corner. The leveling system is very clunky. Never was the biggest fan of the leveling system. It's more the world that caught me. The world feels amazing. The fog of war that we were kind of limited to because of the hardware out at the time was definitely probably one of the biggest strengths. Not being able to see about 30 feet in front of me probably made the world feel bigger than it was. But Morrowind, again, amazing. The combat felt great at the time. I think it still doesn't hold up fantastically today. You know, trying to hit someone and having it being roll-based, even though you're hitting them dead on, doesn't feel great. But when this game came out, and for what it was at the time, absolutely amazing. Would I recommend this to most newer RPG fans? No. This game is clunky. It hasn't aged fantastically well. It needs a remaster. It absolutely needs a remaster. But Morrowind will always have a soft spot in my heart, simply because of how many hours I put in when I was a youngster. I say that like I'm ancient when I'm not that old, actually. Again, very, very solid RPG. Morrowind is amazing. Again, rose-tinted goggles are probably playing a big factor where I'm putting it here. But I still think this is probably Bethesda's best RPG they've ever made. But we all have that. Some people think Skyrim, some people think Oblivion. I don't know if this is my favorite Elder Scrolls. I guess we'll see. Oblivion. Now, I'm going to include the remastered version and Old Oblivion just as one title. I replayed the remastered version very recently, and I still love it. When Oblivion came out, I thought it was great. When the remaster came out, I thought it was also fantastic. Now, I think the remaster was probably one of the best remasters we've ever seen. They remade the game, it looks fantastic, and they made the right types of choices. It still feels a little clunkier on the edges, it still feels like Oblivion. The combat feels slightly more tight than Morrowind did. The world is good. I loved the story in Oblivion. That was the biggest selling point for me. Going into the Oblivion gates, fighting the demons head on, the world felt very active to me. Definitely one of the stronger open world RPGs, especially the remaster. Oblivion is just a great game. I would definitely recommend this to a lot of Elder Scrolls fans. If you've played Skyrim, definitely try Oblivion. It's very similar. You're kind of in the same genre. You're kind of playing a similar game, just the world's a little different. So is the gameplay. I do like the spell customization that Morrowind and Oblivion has. They are very fun. I love both of these games. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls series. Oblivion, again, is a little more tighter than Morrowind is, simply because it came out a little later. But Bethesda definitely knew what they were doing when they made Oblivion. Skyrim. Now, which edition do we want to cover? There's about 50 of them by now, I think. Now, where do these rank? Honestly, I'd probably put Oblivion at the back. Skyrim I'd probably put in the middle, and Morrowind I'd probably put at the top. Skyrim is a great game. In fact, I'm going to bump this up to awesome. So, no rose-tinted goggles. I think overall, I think Morrowind made more of an impact on me than Skyrim. But Skyrim did two things phenomenally well. The world feels fantastic. The world feels alive. Skyrim is probably the best open world RPG that's ever been made. The combat feels great. The spells feel impactful. The only bad thing I didn't like about Skyrim is the lack of spell customization. Thankfully, mods have kind of fixed that, and you can say a lot about a lot of these things on this list, probably. Skyrim is probably one of the most heavily modded games of all time. In fact, I think this has several total conversions by now, but people have done some ridiculous things with Skyrim. Now, where would I put it in this list? Probably here. Definitely not the best RPG of all time, but definitely ranking in the top 5, I would say. The first time you take on and kill a dragon, it feels epic. I don't know if any other game has highs that match Skyrim. Seeing a dragon swoop overhead, shooting fire at you, trying to fight back, ducking and weaving between cover, exploring ancient Nordic ruins, taking your character through blizzards and storms feels amazing. I can't say enough good things about Skyrim. Again, between Morrowind and Skyrim, I think Morrowind made a bit more of an impact on me, but Skyrim, you can't really say enough good things about the game. Again, the only weakness I think Skyrim has is the loss of customizing your spells kind of hurt. But again, you kind of made up for it with the secondary power source, the shouts, which are again super fun to use. They feel super impactful too. Skyrim, great game. Outer Worlds. I did not play much of this, I'm going to be honest. I think I probably put in about 30 hours. I'm teetering between good and painfully. No, I'm going to put at the top of painfully average. I like the game, just not enough to ever pick it up again. Is it worth your time? Yes, I would say. It is a decent game. It feels solid. However, the world feels small. The combat felt okay. It felt like I was playing a Fallout game, quite frankly. And Fallout has reactivity. Now, I think the same people made New Vegas as Outer Worlds. Vegas blows Outer Worlds out of the water. The world is, I don't know how many times bigger. The problem with Outer Worlds is its scale. It's a very small game. It's a very tight and compact game. And you can have fun. It's just I didn't think the narrative options were there. I didn't feel the same reactivity that New Vegas had. The combat didn't feel fantastic to me. I just never got hooked in like I did in some of these games. So would I recommend Outer Worlds? If you were a fan of New Vegas, could you have fun in Outer Worlds? Yes, you absolutely could. But again, I just never had that hook. Alright, which one is this one? The Temple Element of Evil. I never played it one either. Torchlight 2. I think I put about 5 to 10 hours in this one. It is a decent game in the vein of Diablo, but I just don't feel comfortable on grading it. Torment Tides of Numenera. Again, another fantastic game I've heard a lot of good things about. I just don't have the chops to talk about it. Oh, Torchlight 1. Actually, yes. I've never played Torchlight. It's Torchlight 2, which I played a little bit. Again, same thing. Just haven't played enough. Tyranny. This is another CRPG, which I have put way too much time into. This is very, very similar to Pillars of Eternity. Also similar to Baldur's Gate 3. The difference in Tyranny is, holy crap, the story is amazing. This is a very dark game. You're essentially playing a villain. It's a very, very dark game. The world is basically given up. Evil has won. And you're trying to navigate a world where evil reigns supreme and everything around you is dark and gritty and holy crap, if this doesn't grip you within the first couple hours, I don't think you have a pulse. The game's narrative is its strongest point. The combat is fun. In fact, I would say the combat is good. No, to great. Especially the magic system. Oh, if you have fun crafting magic, the accent system in Tyranny is amazing. Tyranny is, I love it. I don't think it's quite as good as Pillars of Eternity, but it is damn close. Damn close. Tyranny is definitely B plus to A minus. The only real lack that Tyranny has is the ending is not super satisfying. I really wish a sequel came out for Tyranny. I would buy it in a heartbeat. The character builds are fun. The magic is fantastic. The narrative feels awesome. The world it's gripping. This will hook you in narratively right away. I can't say enough good things about Tyranny. If you're looking for a dark, gritty CRPG with a really fun, deep combat system, grab Tyranny. You will not regret it. Oh, and here we have a very old favorite, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines. Now, upon release, this game was complete and utter garbage. Not the gameplay, not the world. Technically, it was a buggy mess. This is another game like KOTOR 2 that the community took and fixed the developers' fuck-ups. Bloodlines is a great game. And where do I want to put this? I'm probably going to put it here. No, I don't think it's fair to put it above Morrowind and Oblivion. Or Tyranny, Divinity 2. I'd put it here. Slightly below Mass Effect. So, the problem with Bloodlines is it required a community patch. Basically, the public fixed this game for the developers. Now, assuming you have the community patch, will you enjoy this game? Oh, hell yes. You're basically living in you are a vampire. You are building a newborn vampire into a super powered vampire. The combat is clunky, but fun. The build variety is awesome. The world feels great to navigate. Basically, you have 3 or 4 main zones, and you have a bunch of mini zones you can kind of interact with. They each have different quests, designs. Personally, I really love Bloodlines. It is fantastic. Would I recommend this RPG to everyone? No. You have to be in the mood for something dark, gritty. If you love vampire lore at all, you'd probably love this game. It doesn't mess around. Is it a particularly hard game? No. If you plan out your build a little bit, Bloodlines can be relatively forgiving. Some playstyles are a lot easier than others. I always like to go for the gunplay and power. The powers are super fun to use. You can build a melee powerhouse. You can build a gun-toting vampire, which is, again, awesome. The story in Vampires Bloodlines was really good. Again, I think the community kind of fixed it up a little bit there. This one needed a lot of help when it was released. Thankfully, thanks to a passionate community, got it. Bloodlines is I have replayed it several times. I've replayed probably everything on this listing good, probably several times. Cannot say enough good things about this. Even today, does it hold up graphically? No, it doesn't. But the world, the story, the characters, even the combat still feels pretty tight. The gunplay isn't the best, but I think this game was released in 2000, 2001. I wouldn't expect a game from back then to really feel super tight anyway, but it holds up fairly well with a community patch. If you're looking for a dark, gritty narrative that has supernatural elements, and it's fairly scary on top of it in some parts. I don't know if slight spoilers, but if you go into a certain manor, you're going to be haunted by a ghost, and even though you're a vampire, it can still scare the shit out of you. Very awesome game. Love Vampire Masquerade. What is this one? Venetica. I have never played that one either. Wasteland 2, I played it briefly. I don't feel comfortable enough grading it, nor Wasteland 3. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Again, my gamer chops are going to start to show here, but I have never put any serious time into any of the Witcher series. I absolutely want to play Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I have heard so many good things about it. Am I going to play Witcher 4 when it comes out? Oh, hell yes, I tend to. There was a lot of hype around that series, around that game, and I will definitely play it when it comes out. Now, the creme de la creme, Cyberpunk 2077. Now, on release, I would probably put this game in painfully average. It had so many technical issues, it just was not a fun time to play. Now, right now, where would I put it? Awesome. Cyberpunk 2077 is a phenomenal game. In fact, I would say it is probably the second best RPG I have played in the last decade. It is phenomenal. The combat after 2.0 feels tight. The story feels phenomenal. I got emotionally involved. It's epic. It's an epic adventure. The build variety is fantastic. The narrative is dark. The world is very gritty. It doesn't pull any punches. There's a lot of dark topics covered in Cyberpunk 2077. And if you've played it for a few hours, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's just epic. The world is absolutely gorgeous. If you have a kick-ass gaming PC, Cyberpunk is an absolute treat on your eyes. Holy crap, is that a treat on your eyes. I love Cyberpunk 27. If you were to play any open world RPG right now, this would probably be the one I would recommend. As long as you can stomach a little bit of darker, gritty narratives, because again, there's nudity, there is body mutilation, gore. There's a lot of darker topics. This is a very dark world, very future dystopian. It's very, very dark. If you're into that kind of universe, Cyberpunk 2077 is amazing. In fact, I'd probably bump it up to here. I think CG Project Red, thankfully after they got their shit together, Cyberpunk, I would highly recommend Cyberpunk 2077 to anyone that loves open world RPGs or RPGs in general. If you haven't played this game yet, you need to pick it up. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Probably my favorite part of the game is the world. As I said again, not only is it graphically gorgeous to look at, but it feels really good to travel around, especially after the patches. It feels good to go around Night City. The music, the atmosphere, it feels phenomenal. And no RPG list would be complete without the World of Warcraft. Now, which I'm not going to be going super in depth in these, because they're kind of the same games, slightly different flavors. Let's start off with Classic. Classic, WoW, awesome. Awesome. The one Classic launched it all. I'm not a huge MMO fan, but Classic, in my opinion, is the best version of World of Warcraft. Um, the world felt epic. The gameplay was simple, but it was still new to us. I played Classic WoW when it came out. I played original Vanilla. I loved Vanilla. I loved Classic. Would I go back and play it again? I absolutely would. World of Warcraft has been a passion of mine for a long time. I love the lore. I love the gameplay. And most of all, raiding with friends. That's what WoW is about. If you can't raid with friends, I'd probably drop this down to I wouldn't play it. This is all about community. As long as you can find a group of friends to play with, World of Warcraft goes from being average to being fantastic. Having a good time with your friends on raid nights, A+. Burning Crusade. I'd probably say this is good. Like Classic WoW, it kind of builds off of World of Warcraft, except we're kind of already used to the world by now. The raiding in Burning Crusade felt very tight, very fun. I was a big fan of class design back then. None of it felt too clunky. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go super in detail on these. Cataclysm was average. This was kind of the start of the decline for World of Warcraft, in my opinion. Cataclysm was basically the death of vanilla, in my opinion. We were kind of building on different iterations of the world. Cataclysm started to go off in a different direction. The raiding in Cataclysm also didn't feel super great to me. Dragon Soul doesn't feel super great to me. If you watch my channel, you've probably seen me upload quite a lot of World of Warcraft videos. Cataclysm just doesn't feel super fun to me. The raiding, the classes are fun, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're the funnest they have ever been. Everything just feels like a bit of a jumbled mess. The dungeons, I'm not a super fan of. And those are really the only two systems I engage in, dungeons and raids. And if I'm not having fun in one of them, well, I'm probably not going to rate it that highly. Wrath of Lich King, I'm probably going to put in good as well. I probably should have done this before Cataclysm, but oh well. So this built off Burning Crusade. Class designs, this is where Death Knights came out. This felt like a good expansion. I loved raiding and Wrath. I thought it was very solid. Now, between Burning Crusade and Wrath, which one is better? I would probably say Burning Crusade, although it's probably rose-tinted goggles, so let me switch these around. I had fun raiding in Wrath, both original and classic. Wrath of Lich King narratively felt amazing. Class design felt good. I played a Protection Paladin the second time around, and it was super fun. ICC was a fantastic raid, which probably elevated it above Burning Crusade. Mists of Pandaria. Now this one is going to be re-releasing here very shortly as of this video in about a month or so. Mists is definitely above Cataclysm for me, from what I can remember. I'll probably put it in the good category. From what I remember, Mists rating was fantastic, really strong. Mist's class design is kind of the pinnacle of quote-unquote old WoW, in my opinion. Whereas in Warlords, we started trimming class abilities. Mist is kind of the most complex that classes will be, while still kind of having that kind of old world epic feeling. The raiding in Mists was fantastic. the original Siege of Orgrimmar lasted way too long, but I don't think we'll have that problem the second time around. I loved playing a Brewmaster in Mists. I thought it was super fun. I'll probably be playing a Blood DK this time. Our guild will be raiding the same time, and I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of good things about Throne of Thunder. I didn't do it the first time around. I'm looking forward to it this time. I'm looking forward to Siege of Orgrimmar again. That'll be super fun. I've been playing WoW for probably about almost 20 years at this point. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. So definitely looking forward to Classic Mists. That is my list. Is there any changes I would make? I don't think these are hard rankings or anything at all. I realize this list looks a little skewed. There are a lot of worse RPGs that are not on this list. I do wish I had slightly more experience with a couple more of these, but like I said, I just found this on the internet and I added a couple. I would have liked to include Mass Effect Andromeda on here. I probably would have stuck it in the average or good category. But overall though, guys, that'll probably do it for me. This is the first tier list video I've made. So hopefully you like it. Maybe if you have any feedback, paste in the comments below. I'd appreciate a subscribe. If you want a more in-depth review of any of these or my thoughts on these, I'd be more than welcome to answer them in the comments below. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.